Hello and welcome to the Our Dad Stamps YouTube channel, where we talk about all things related to stamps and stamp collecting. My name's Pete West and I'd like to thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, please click on the like button and don't forget to subscribe to get regular updates of new content. Hello again from Our Dad Stamps podcast, and welcome to the first podcast of 2023. I'd like to take the opportunity to wish everybody a happy new year and hope 2023 brings you everything you want it to bring. I thought this podcast we could do a review of last year's and just go over what's happened and progress we've made. And we're joined once again by Sheila, who's going to be asking the questions. So hello Sheila.
Hello Pete.
Last year was actually the first full year of recording videos for my YouTube channel. I actually did 26 podcasts last year, which ranged from Victorian stamps to King Charles stamps, which haven't even been produced yet, and from fakes and forgeries to first day covers and everything in between. So it was quite an eventful year, and I hope you've enjoyed the podcasts.
So my first question for you, Pete, what was one of the highlights of the year with you doing your podcast?
Well, I think there was a couple of highlights this year, actually. The first one was going to the Stampex exhibition in London in September. It was the first stamp exhibition that I've been able to go to since before COVID. So it's been more than 3 years since I went to one. And it was just nice to go again and feel the atmosphere and see all the different types of stamps. But some of the highlights for me at the show were actually meeting up with some of my subscribers and being recognised as for the podcast. So that was quite a surprise and a nice surprise. So once again, thank you to those people who took the time to speak to me at Stampex. It was also nice to meet up with Graham Beck from Exploring Stamps and listen to his talk that he gave at the show. So yeah, those two things were quite special. But the second highlight for me was something totally different, and it only happened last week. And that was, I was lucky enough, or honoured, to be able to use some music from a band called When Rivers Meet on my podcast. For those of you that don't know, When Rivers Meet are a fairly new blues and rock band, and they produced their first album in 2020, which was recognised as the best debut album by the Blues Awards. And they've also won Planet Rock's Best Rock Band of the Year and Album of the Year. So it's quite a big band, and for them to agree to let me use their music in one of my videos, I just felt that was quite amazing. So a big thank you to them. And if you've never heard any of their music, I'll put a link to their website where you can find out more information and listen to some.
So you said you've done over 20 episodes. Is there a favourite episode of the podcast?
Yes, I suppose there is. All of them I find interesting and enjoyable to do. But probably the one about how to find the plate numbers on Victorian stamps. And the reason I enjoyed it most is because that's the part of stamp collecting that I find most interesting. And I was able to do a bit more research and find a bit more information about it. But also it was nice to share my collection with the viewing public and to show things that I've learned. And I've certainly had some good feedback from others saying that they've learned a lot from it. So it's always nice to hear people thanking me and enjoying the videos for the educational content as well as the entertainment content.
I think as well with the podcast, you are sitting here talking into a microphone. We really have got no idea who is on the other end listening. So the fact that when you do get comments, likes, feedback on your episodes, I mean, that makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah, it certainly does. And as you've just said, getting feedback makes it all worthwhile. So thank you for the comments from everybody that has given me some.
Now, there's a lot of hard work that goes into making a podcast. You have to do lots of research. Is there a particular episode that was the hardest for you to make?
Yeah, as you say, they're all difficult in their own way, or they all take time in their own way. Certainly, I do a lot of research beforehand to make sure I'm giving the facts as best as I know them. I may make mistakes, but hopefully not too many. And if I'm passing on information, I want it to be accurate. So I certainly check up on everything first. But what I did that probably technically was more difficult than anything else was, and that may have been my mistakes from trying something different, but when I revealed the New Zealand collection that I bought, and I sort of videoed me going through the collection and then talked about the various aspects of New Zealand stamps, I possibly made the mistake because I videoed me looking at the collection first. Then I tried to cut in still images and scanned images of the stamps so that people could get a better view of the stamps. And then I added the audio comment afterwards. And it all got very difficult and quite hard to match up the audio with the video, with the stills. It was quite a technical challenge, but ultimately quite an enjoyable one as well. So although that was probably the most difficult one, it was still an enjoyable episode.
So we're talking about some of the highlights for 2022. So have you given any thought to 2023 going forward with the podcast?
My first hope for 2023 is at the moment I've got 860 subscribers. So it'd be nice to get past the magic 1,000 mark. At 1,000 subscribers, it does mean I can monetize, and I hate that term, but I can monetize the channel. I don't particularly want to do that, but it's just nice to get past that 1,000 mark. And it does mean that the more subscribers you get, the more you move up the Google search ladder. So hopefully more people will find it. So yeah, as I said, it would be nice to reach 1,000 subscribers. And I have no intentions of making money out of these at all. They're just a bit of enjoyment. The second thing I think for next year would be, I want to see what the new King Charles II stamps. Charles II? Is he? I think he's the second.
I think it's the third, isn't it?
Might be the third. Oh, I ought to check up on that, didn't I? King Charles stamps, anyway. When they come out, it would be nice to see what they look like. I've seen some images of what the coins are going to look like, and whether the stamps will follow a similar format, I don't know. But that's going to be an exciting event this year for all stamp collectors, I think. And the other thing that I'm looking forward to this year, I'm hoping to be able to go to the stamp exhibition in Essen in Germany, which is in May this year. I've never been to one outside of England so far, so that certainly seems an exciting opportunity and one that I'm looking forward to. So again, hopefully we will make that happen and I can do a report from there. So yes, so in 2023, I hope to continue with these video podcasts going out once every 2 weeks and looking forward to some more interesting topics to talk about. So Sheila, how have you found being part of these podcasts? Because you're not a stamp collector and you've really prior knowledge to stamps before I got involved. So how has it been for you?
I think the interesting thing for me is I put myself in the shoes of maybe somebody who's never collected stamps, maybe has come across a box of stamps or been given some stamps. And I think for me it's quite interesting, the whole process. I think for me there are a couple of podcasts which I found really interesting. I think, and I don't know which number podcast it was, but about the fraud within the post office. I thought that was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, that was quite a while ago, that one. I can't remember which one that was, but yes, it was.
And it was interesting the lengths people will go to sort of commit fraud. And I think the second one, which I would love to have known more information, was about the house where a lady decorated the walls of the house with postage stamps.
Ah, yes.
I think that was a very, very early podcast. I
did have a comment from one of the viewers about that, saying he remembers going to I can't remember whether it was a house or a pub somewhere in South London, that was covered in where the walls were covered in stamps. So, but he did say unfortunately it's been knocked down now. But yes, it would be quite interesting to see that. Maybe I'll decorate the walls in here with stamps.
I think for me the interesting point is all the little stories that go behind the stamp. I think that's what I find particularly interesting. So yeah, I think it's been an interesting year.
Good. So maybe next year I'll look at more behind the stamps stories. And I certainly plan hopefully to do some on the stamp designers, the well-known stamp designers. So maybe there'll be something of interest there.
I mean, the one that was interesting was Dorothy Wilding, who was the
photographer,
female photographer who took the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II.
Yes. So I wonder who's going to take the portraits of King Charles.
I'm sure that's already been done. If the coins are out, presumably, do they use the same portrait for a coin and a
Sometimes
stamp?
they do, sometimes they don't. So I don't know if the last I read, the post office haven't made a decision yet, but I would have thought they have by now because they'll need to start production pretty soon.
And I'm just wondering whether the post office will do a special collection commemorating the life of Queen Elizabeth II. Will they do something like that?
They have released a set soon after her death that was commemorating her life.
And you haven't done a podcast on that?
Not on that one particular set, no. Maybe there is a podcast there.
There we go, see.
Yes, okay. Well, food for thought for 2023. Once again, thank you to everyone who's watched and supported me over 2022. And I look forward to your continued support this year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I hope you found it interesting and enjoyable. Don't forget you can visit my online stores at eBay and Delcamp under the name of Our Dad Stamps, where I have over 2,000 items for sale. Please join us again in 2 weeks' time for another edition of Our Dad Stamps podcast.